Hello, I'm Nicholas Hill from the Baltic section of the Cruising Association. What I'd like to present now is a short overview of using the Kiel Canal to get to the Baltic. If you're going to the Baltic, then the chances are that you will go there through the Kiel Canal, or as it is known in German, the Nord-Ostsee-Kanal. This graphic illustrates exactly why. I'm assuming, of course, that you're coming from the south of England. If coming from Scotland or the north, then you might want to go through the Skagerrak. This is a more detailed view of the canal. You can see it starts at a place called Brunsbüttel, and it runs for just over 60 miles or 100 kilometres through to Kiel. Your chances of doing this in a day are fairly remote, given that you're going to have to spend time waiting for and going through the locks at either side. The canal was originally built for the German Navy, the Kaiser's High Seas Fleet, and it was a way of getting the fleet from the North Sea to the Baltic and back again. In fact, after the first canal was dug, battleships got even bigger and the canal had to be enlarged. If you are going through the canal from the Elbe, then the chances are you'll be stopping off at Cuxhaven first. Getting into the Elbe itself is something of a challenge given the strength of the tides. You can get fuel at Cuxhaven, where you can see the sign Bunkerstation. The one at Cuxhaven is automatic. You put in your credit card and get your diesel. This is an aerial view of the locks at Brunsbüttel. Normally sports boats would use the smaller locks on the right hand side, and in fact it is just possible to see that there is a yacht in the far right hand side lock which is on its way out. The waiting area is upstream of the locks, and you must observe that. If you don't, you may well get into trouble. The signal for going into the locks is a single white flashing light. If in doubt, follow the locals. Once into the lock itself, there are some other problems. As you can see from these photographs, the floating platform to which you tie up has a freeboard of just a few inches, and it is extremely difficult to get your fenders in the correct position to hold yourself well clear. In addition, you have to tie on using rings. Now this means jumping down from your boat, and given the low pontoon, it's going to be a long way down, onto a pontoon which may be wet, slimy and slippery, and then feed your line through a ring and back to the boat. It's not the easiest way to do things, but unfortunately that's how you're going to do it. Notice the motoring cones. Motoring cones are very important in Germany. If you have any sail up and you have the motor running, then you should display the cone. You are allowed to use sail in the canal, but you should also have your motor running. Here's a view of the lock looking from the canal side. Once clear of the lock, and the sports boats are usually allowed to go first, you can spend the night at a small marina just round the corner. Here it is viewed from the outside and a view from the inside. It's quite convenient. There are some reasonable facilities, and despite the closeness to the locks, it's actually relatively quiet and undisturbed. You can also get fuel in the canal. The fueling point is just about a mile from the lock. Then you start moving through the canal itself. You'll meet some quite large fellows coming the other way. Perhaps on this one the perspective exaggerates it. It's not quite as bad as that. You also meet other oddities, such as this Norwegian submarine. Here is some video, first of some ships coming towards you. You can see that they are going relatively slowly. I think the speed limit is 8 knots and making virtually no wash. Wash is not a problem. And you can see sports boats in the background quite close to the edge and with no problem at all. Sometimes they're coming up from behind you and it obviously takes them longer to overtake. At one point as they come past, they drag you along with them. If you watch your GPS, you'll suddenly see the speed increase by a knot or two and then drop back down again. This one, well, it's called National Glory, but, well, let us say no more. Here I'm being overtaken. AIS is actually quite useful in the canal because you can see people coming round the corner. There's very little wash. In fact, whilst all this is happening, the boat is motoring along under auto helm. You are probably going to need places to stop for the night, and there is a fair amount of choice. One of my favourite spots is the Kiel Canal, which is about 37 miles from Brunsbüttel. You go down about a mile where you'll find a lock and the staging. You tie up alongside. There are very few facilities except a loo, but on the other hand, it is free. Further along, there are two places close by, Rendsburg, which I will confess I've never been to, and the Marina Borgstedt. This is easily spotted because it has a large sign outside advertising Winterlager, or winter storage. There is a floating pontoon with fingers, or if you like, there is also a basin you can go into. It's about a mile to the shops from here. The final place is called the Flamuda See. It's basically a large lake fairly close to the Holtenau end, and there is an anchorage marked out by buoys. It's very peaceful. Throw down your anchor and it's no distance at all to the locks in the morning. And then we have reached the end. We are now at the locks at Holtenau. Here you have to pay for your transit through the canal, but the payments are very modest. I think I paid €12 for a 9-metre yacht. Once through the locks, you are then in the Baltic proper, as you can see from this lighthouse in Kiel. Enjoy your time in the Baltic. Thank you.